validate myself now. I can validate my emotions. That is a very important part of the process to be able to understand what does that have to do with the coronavirus crisis, those stages of grief, that it is actually what they are experiencing too. Just to mention briefly what the stages are, you should just hurry up and get to the final stage of acceptance. And we really need to be very kind to ourselves and to our family and to our loved ones and to Hello everyone and welcome back to another Whole Wellness Method video. I'm Lida Sportel at the upcoming lidashealing.com and the Whole Wellness Method. And in this video, I want to talk about the stages of grief. And this is something that was created by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and she's written some amazing books. And the stages of grief mainly are applied to situations where we have actually lost a loved one, or even in situations where we have ended a very important relationship, or we are experiencing any sense of deep loss or grief. And it is something that I use with my clients a lot because it makes things it puts things into a different perspective. You start to understand what it is that you're going through. You start not to feel so crazy about the experiences and the emotions that you're feeling. You're starting to feel like, okay, I see, I can validate myself now. I can validate my emotions. And that is a very important part of the process to be able to understand what it is that we're going through. So now you might be wondering, what does that have to do with the coronavirus crisis that we are all experiencing? Well, I was thinking about it, and I've been talking to my clients and their process through this crisis and what they're going through. And I started identifying those stages of grief, that it is actually what they are experiencing too. And I start to make a correlation there and see that actually it is a form of loss, it is a form of grief that we are all collectively going through right now. And each one of us is going through it quite differently. So we can't really say that we are all having the same experience with this, but there are certain maybe principles, maybe some of these stages that as I'm going through them and I'm sharing them with you, you might find that we do all kind of experience some similar emotions here, that we are all going through some stages of grief and loss, and that we are, in that sense, although our personal experience is quite different and how this is affecting us on an individual level is quite different, but in terms of those deeper emotions and what we are really feeling in our hearts is actually quite similar. So that's what I wanted to offer you today, is just a little discussion on those 5 stages of grief and what that has to do with what we are experiencing right now. And you might find this helpful. You might find that it validates you a little bit in what you're going through, and that you also have that hope that as you move along these stages, at the end, there is more of a peaceful stage with, again, what we're going through. And I know that's easier said than done, but we'll discuss it further and we can see how you feel in this process. So just to mention briefly what the stages are, and then I'll go into each one of them in a lot more detail. So the first one is denial, then we have anger, then we have bargaining, then we have depression, and then we have acceptance. And it doesn't mean that we go through these stages in a linear fashion. It doesn't mean that we start at denial and then go to anger and then bargaining and then depression and then acceptance. Sometimes we do start this way, but then we can kind of go back to some previous stages or skip stages. So it could go any way. And before I start exploring each one of them, I also wanted to say that none of them are bad. So this is not a discussion about negative emotions, or like you shouldn't be feeling this way, or you should just hurry up and get to the final stage of acceptance. This is not about that. This is about truly just seeing where we're at right now, and being gentle with ourselves, because it's a very, very challenging time. And we really need to be very kind to ourselves and to our family and to our loved ones and to the people around us, and not, in any way try to rush this process, or to try to judge ourselves or others if they are at a stage where, you know, we think is a negative stage or anything like that. So I just want to say that, but it will make more sense as I'm moving along as to what I mean by what I just said. So let's get into the first stage.